Hello again. I'm here to present the first good practice of the morning. Thank you very much, Simon, for your introduction. I think you have put all the vocabulary I have to use in the very best way. So I'm going to start to present our practice that we call access to early stage finance. In fact, we call it early stage, but as you mean, being really, really strict, that is used to overcome an obstacle. And our obstacle here is the financing gap. Early stage entrepreneurs have a problem to access finance. But I think to say that for a bridge, you have two sides of a bridge. There's a problem on the side of the entrepreneur, but there's also a problem on the side of the entity, the financing entity, the private investor, or anything who can give money or invest money in an entrepreneur. So bridge is the key word to define our practice. Let us start by the beginning and explain who are we and which is our position in the regional ecosystem. We are CEEI Asturias Business Innovation Center. Maybe you are familiar with this idea of Business Innovation Center, but in each region this Business Innovation Center is different. The promoters behind the Business Innovation Centers give you different power depending on the role and depending on the force they have in the region. In our case, we are very, very happy that it's the regional government, the European Commission, and the main regional and social economic agents of the region which is behind the CEEI Asturias. Normally, we would like to say that as regards the regional government and the most powerful tool of the regional government regarding regional development, which is the IDIPA, the other partner of the DIFASS project, we act a kind of armed force for entrepreneurs for them. That's the idea behind our position. And this influences our role and our strategic position in all the regional ecosystem. Our role is to promote the modernization and diversification of the business environment in Asturias. And for do that, we have two main objectives. The first one is to disseminate the culture of the innovation and the valorization of the technology, making different services of promotion, training, going to the technology centers, to the knowledge centers, to the university, trying to promote this idea of diversification. And the most practical one, which is the providing global support for anyone who has an innovative idea in Asturias that is behind setting a company. The global support is important when you approach any support for entrepreneurs. Normally, they have ideas in mind, they have different background, they have different experience, but normally they need a kind of global support for any of the challenges they have in order to setting up and growing the company. For that, business advice is very important, to have a technical team going for any of the areas they need help, for analysis of marketing, for financing, for legal advice, IP advice, any kind of advice. And the access to finance is also one of the key points they need to really be ready. For the access to finance, for this good practice, as I said before, we have this image of bridge saying that we provide service to both sides. On the one hand, we have the entrepreneurs or the young SMEs needing to access to funding. We need to provide them the support and the investment readiness to define the financial needs and to really choose the suitable funds for their needs. And on the other hand, we have the facilitating entities, the funding entities. We need to help them also to identify and analyze the needs and the projects, the entrepreneurs. We really need to also facilitate them the process, because sometimes these funding entities, they have a very big experience, a lot of experience accessing, for example, or giving grants or subsidies or any other funding line to SMEs, to, let's call it, consolidate SMEs, but they don't really have the experience to how to access these young people with spin-offs, with these really different stages of setting up and growing the company. Let's start on how we can help entrepreneurs. We give them two kinds of different supports. On the one hand, we have an individualized support and advice, And we combine this individualized support with what we call the investment readiness Drupal module, that we call it commercial calling VIC, Venture Investment Competition. Let's start by the beginning. How to approach this individual support. For the methodology, I think when you, many of you can have as clients, entrepreneurs, and it's very important when you address to entrepreneurs to have different principles in mind. First of all, you need to be formal. Let's say we sign an agreement with each entrepreneur explaining the time we are going to focus in the project, the compromises and the obligation they need to fulfill, and limiting the time of resources, limiting and adapting them to different milestones of the project. So planning in consensus when approaching the role with entrepreneurs is important. We also have different stages in the process of advising those entrepreneurs, which is starting by the pre-feasibility analysis. We are a public service. No one entrepreneur really is excluded from the service, but we really focus and we concentrate our resources in those entrepreneurs who are really willing to go to the market and really motivated and have this pre-feasibility analysis, a good analysis. When we sign the agreement and the work schedule, limiting the time, limiting the amount of technicians who are involved in the project, we started to work by the business plan development. It's really not worth to start to work in amounts, facts or figures if you don't have a business model rigid and strict behind. So business model is made the same way as facts and figures is made for the projects. For all the process of the individual advice, we follow different methodologies, which is reflected in the quality system of our entity. We are an ISO, we have an ISO, and we have also the European Foundation, the FQM module behind our work. And finally, which is very important, is that all the process is very result-oriented. We only think we have success in the process if really, finally, the entrepreneur gets the things they are going to look, which is really the fun. This was the individualized way of doing things, of putting advice on entrepreneurs. But as I said before, we combine this individualized analysis with a module which is Drupal. This is a kind of intensive acceleration program in terms of investment readiness. Let's start by the beginning. Why is this need? Normally, when the entrepreneur is working in their process, their business model process, when they are approaching the different challenges and the different needs, they normally feel very alone. They really feel like they are discovering the world in every step they give. So the networking and the idea to work with other entrepreneurs in the same situation is really very beneficial. For us, it's also beneficial because the needs of one entrepreneur could be also the needs of another entrepreneur. So it is a way to put efficiency in the process. But what is really important is the BIC is a kind of acceleration programs, intensive acceleration programs, 2 entire days of acceleration program that combines knowledge pills, for example, about how is the process of, for example, a private investor going into your company, so where the business angle is really put in your figures, what are the juridic and legal consequences of having one person, for example, as equity in the company. We have different modules about how to approach financing and fiscal and taxation and legal things about the process of investing in a company. And this is combined with different modules of coaching. Coaching as regard communication. Because we really think that now that all the public resources or traditional resources are decreasing to really support entrepreneurs, well, in global they are decreasing. Fortunately, we have still some possibilities of going for that money, but this process of business angels or venture capitalists is normally one of the short-term or really medium-term objectives for any entrepreneur, which is normally ambitious. So this communication abilities, this communication and the need to be clear and the need to know what are the requirements and the things that the other side needs to hear from you in order to invest in your project is needed. So for the venture investment competition, so this acceleration program, all the programs finish with a kind of public presentation of the projects. For those presentation of the projects, normally different private or private investors or really institutional investors attend to those presentations and really help giving feedback to the entrepreneurs in order to prepare really their investment readiness. Let's explain what are the overview of funding lines that we can help entrepreneurs to access. This is a kind of graphic representation of different stages, as you mentioned. Maybe we put it here, startup, maybe this is early stage. We have seed, we have startup, we have growth. And here we have a kind of economic needs that the entrepreneurs could have. Here you have an overview. Starting here, we have a kind of microcredits or self-employment aids. If we go here, if the need is more than the one you can solve with microcredits or self-employment aids, then we have in the region the best possibility for spin-off to really be setting up or to really have the real possibility to arrive to the market, which is a special subsidy for new technology firms. This subsidy is now in the hands of the Regional Development Agency, and I need to think that it's a kind of pioneer idea. Our region is one of the, I think, at the moment it's the single region in Spain having the possibility to have this regional aid. Why? Because here in Asturias, as we are approaching a kind of diversification, the regional government thinks that betting on those young entrepreneurs, betting on those really brilliant people with this technology background and helping them to at least try to have a business unit here in the region to diversify the economic regional overview, it's a kind of priority. For those regions, we have this powerful tool. In fact, the call for proposals for this year is called 2 days before. And this is, even if at the moment it's budget limited because some constraint of the regional government, I think this powerful tool is really a very good advantage for our regional entrepreneurs. Maybe we can call it after of some of the peculiarities of the line. Here we have different also possibilities to access to business angels. We are promoters of the regional business angels network of the region together with the Employers Association of Asturias, FADE. And we are very conscious of our role of promoting the idea of business angel. As you know, our tradition is not at all familiarized with this business angel process. Let's say that the investors who are in the network are not really the professional ones. As you mentioned, different methods of valuation. I think our reality is that our investors are not so professional. Normally, the decision to invest or not in a project is taking, of course, saying the figures of the project, but it's more a kind of feeling of between the investors and the private the entrepreneur and the investors. But I think that our role is really to promote this culture, promote this culture of communication of the project, of being open, of putting into the project one person that could give you money, but also intelligence. which is important also. You mentioned that in every evaluation of the project, the board of directors or the people which is involved in the project is an asset who gives you more credibility to access to the market. And I would like to say that more than an asset normally is the key point for you to survive and to really grow and having success in your idea. So promoting all, it's sometimes hard in the region. The culture is not really easy to change, but I think that more or less we are successing in this idea of promoting the investors, the private investor role. Here you have other different lines, which are Sedeti Neotech is a very powerful tool, also at national level. Is based in Madrid, depending on the national ministry, and it's a kind of, let's say, seed, not really seed, but early stage investment in the project. It's public because it's public financed, but also the method of evaluating or assessing the project is very flexible in a way. It's a very powerful tool, but let's say that when here in Asturias we launch this new technology-based subsidy, is trying to cover this gap at the beginning, you say? Because for arriving to that, which is very powerful, you need to be in a state that normally, if you don't have a first initial investment, it's difficult to access. So here we have both, we try to combine both. Finally, we have other options for other projects who are in different stages. Equity loans, SRP, which is the Sociedad Regional de Promoción, is a capital risk society. It's also based in the IDEPA premises, in the Technology Park of Asturias. And then we have another option, which is venture capital, when the project is really in a different stage of development. But to develop this, what we really need is really the partnership, because as I explained before, we are not a funding entity. We do not have fund, and we do not put any money in any of the projects. So our partners for the service are those financial entities. As I explained before, the government of Asturias and the Regional Development Agency, IDEPA, are the regional economic tools here in the region, and they really trust us for different roles regarding the funding of entrepreneurs. Regional Society of Promotion, even Asturgar, the Mutual Guarantee Society, also have different agreements with us. We also work with national and regional banks, and we work together with the Employer Association for the regional ASBAN, the Business Angel Network in Asturias. What is important is that to really cooperate with them, we try to formalize our cooperation. As I explained, for any of the partnership, we have different tools. For example, for the government of Asturias, for the self-employment aids, or with IDEPA, with the new technology-based firm subsidies, we, in the call for proposals, in the formal call for proposals, we have a role. For example, we are quality validators of the business plan for accessing to the land. This is, of course, very important because it's a kind of formalize our work with those entities. And with other entities, maybe we have some less formal cooperation. It's made on agreements. It's based on informal feedback or about the business plan, or informal addressing of entrepreneurs. If you go, for example, for the SRP and the project is not very mature, they advise you to go to the big Asturias to really try to mature the idea and then go back to the promotion. So the tools to really formalize the cooperation with those funding entities depend really on the circumstances, on your strategic position within your regional context. Just one idea about some quantitative results, and let's explain that the quantitative results really vary from one year to another. Why? Because really the exit or the success on accessing funds really depends on the availability of funds for the regional government in this case or other funding entity. For example, to give you an idea of last year, we have more than 1,462,000 euros, which means more or less 1.5 million, which is for us interesting. This shows really that our quantitative results really behind our work. Just to give you an idea also of how was these funds distributing by the different lines. As I said, for example, the Neotech line, which was the national one, is almost half of the money that comes from the region regarding our good practice come from CEEI, from the national ministry. And last year, for example, we didn't have this regional subsidy for new technology-based firms, so we hope this year all this money will increase for the benefit of our entrepreneurs. And as I said before, as a business innovation center, part of our work is really focusing innovative companies, being the technology-based one really special group between these innovative companies. So really our strong work is for those technology-based companies or really innovative companies. So most of the money comes from them. Since 2005, which is really a kind of starting point of this good practice, we have obtained more than 10 million for the companies, for our Asturias companies. And talking about good practices, transferability, which is really the reason behind the participation of the program, I would like to say that the sustainability of such a good practice is, as I said before, is based on your strategic position in the region, and to try to be sustainable, you need to be named, you need to be described in the multi-annual regional strategic papers or guiding documents. That's a kind of key for the sustainability. For you, taking your point of view internally, this needs to be in a very strict procedure. You need to concretize. The procedure is not the same to say that you give access to your entrepreneurs, that really to put in place a kind of procedure, formal procedure with the stages, with methodologies, with qualitative and quantitative results, evaluation, etc. That is not the same. And finally, to be sustainable for your clients, you need to be really flexible, because opportunities vary from one year to another, because your clients need different things depending on the business idea they have behind. And to ensure the exit and the interest of your clients on your practice, you need to be flexible and always, have open eyes to any possibility of increasing the overview of the list of funding lines you really work for, and to be open to new mechanisms, for example, crowdfunding. Maybe you are aware of the fact that 2 weeks ago we organized an event based on crowdfunding. We would like very happy to share with our experience with you in one of the next workshops we have. We have 6 national platforms, the most important platforms, and 25 regional projects presenting their projects to those national platforms. So really to be intensive in searching and looking for new possibilities is a key also for the exit of such a good practice. And as regards transferability of the practice, I think that our problem is a common problem. This is a good practice which is addressed to cover a global problem and a common problem you would have when you speak with your entrepreneurs in your region. What is really different is the way of approaching the solution. That's normally different. When you speak about the process of transferring, etc., of course, the circumstance of each region is different. But I think the general philosophy is common for everybody. And of course, the transferability is really appreciated under the framework of European programs like the one we have, DIFASS. So just to sum up, to really ensure the exit of a program for access to finance, a bridge for access to finance, it needs to be conceived as a regional strategy to give you the power, the force, and the trust of the government and everybody to go for the problem. Needs to be integrated in global service. It's not credible at all to approach just the financial problem of an entrepreneur and not to approach the other problem, global problem they have to setting up the company. You need a specialized technical team. This is also a really key behind the credibility of your service. Entrepreneurs need to feel that they are talking with experts, if possible persons who have experience in different funding lines, who really understand the language and the requirements the funding lines have for the entrepreneurs, and really to be realistic about your role as interface of the system. You are a facilitator, and you need to work on the both phases, the entrepreneurs, but you need also to work on the side of the funding lines. That's all as regards the explanation of the good practice.